a question on so many owners, myself included, in my biggest league. Oh, devastating. Mark Andrews likely done for the year. Cracked fibula, an ankle ligament injury. There's been no official he's done for sure, but it does seem like it is going to be, at minimum for the fantasy season, an end for Mark Andrews. And so brutal here. How do we replace a guy like that? Well, you certainly don't. 13 points a game with 20-plus spike week upside at tight end, where it's such a bloodbath everywhere. You're not going to find that on the waiver wire. You shouldn't be out there expecting anything even close. But there are some options, I think, that can be better than others. And at the top of that list for me, I'm not going to go in reverse order for you. That would be Isaiah Likely. If you're desperate for a tight end this week and you, similar to me, lost Mark Andrews, consider him a top 3 ad of the week. Now, there's a few things that really point to him being a great addition here. And if you look just no further than last year, whenever he had 50% or higher snap share, Isaiah Likely, and Mark Andrews was under 80% of these snaps, given mostly an injury in that case, we had Isaiah Likely averaging 15.8 fantasy points per game. That's the second best ever by a rookie tight end. He had a team high 22% target share anytime Mark Andrews was below the 80% of the routes there. So he became the focal point of this offense, was the tight end 2, tight end 9, tight end 3, Isaiah Likely in those 3 games that we're referring to without Mark Andrews last year. But why is this not a complete smash? Why shouldn't I blow every single cent I have on getting Isaiah Likely? Well, maybe you should, but this is just a completely different offensive scheme, going from Greg Roman, always been a historically tight end friendly offense, next to Vernon Davis and the Niners. They've always been so run centric, and then dinking and dunking with a tight end off play action. That's how Roman runs his scheme. So it just became a natural fit that Likely played that Mark Andrews target hog role. I don't think we can expect that with Todd Monken, much more air raid style offense. Plus they have so much more competition. There really was no one else to throw to last year. Now we got Odell Beckham. We're going to talk about him in a little bit. We got Rashad Bateman looking fully healthy. Nelson Aguilar, for whatever reason, is doing some damage out there. And of course, the biggest addition is Zay Flowers, who has the team high target share here. So I don't think we're going to get that almost pseudo Mark Andrews replacement level of Isaiah Likely. But you do look at the schedule, and you've also got to point to the fact that, one catch for 4 yards on 1 target in week 1 with no Andrews. This week with no Andrews, 2 targets, no receptions. He hasn't really been anything, Isaiah Likely, in Andrews' absences so far this year. So that's why you can't just go completely balls to the wall, make him your only option here. I'd say you got to pick up at least a couple tight ends. But the schedule's ripe here. It's Chargers 4th most points, bye week, Rams the 3rd most points, and a fantasy playoffs featuring the Jags 12th most points. San Fran tough in week 16. Then you get Miami the 10th most points at tight end. So a good schedule for Isaiah Likely. So many elite efficiency marks in college. He's the 2nd highest PFF grade ever, behind only Trey McBride and Kyle Pitts across the last 6 years. One of the highest of all time. He has yards per target, 11.1, 6th best among tight ends, 20.0 yards per reception. 2020, that was the best mark by any tight end across the last 25 years. So we've seen Isaiah Likely, an Everett boy, a local guy, shout out from Mass. He has been a beast. He was an absolute focal point in college. So he could potentially rise up and be that guy. And I spent the most time on him because I do think Likely is your number 1 type of upside replacement with the potential to be a 65, 70% Mark Andrews, just not quite the level he was last year in a more tight end-centric offense with less weapons to contend with. Behind him, you got Pat Freiermuth, around 50% rostered. Might get dropped by a lot of people because he only had 1 target, 7 yards, only 42% of the routes this week. I get maybe I'm making the case against him right now, but I think that's just fresh off an injury, plus facing Cleveland, who's given up less than 3 points a game to tight ends this year, other than Mark Andrews himself. So I do think Freiermuth is a viable waiver wire replacement option should he be out there. He's probably the more high floor guy. He gets 2 games against Cincinnati across his next 4, 2nd most points allowed to tight ends, and the rest of the schedule not overly concerning there. It's just such a tough aerial pie there with the Steelers to get excited about, considering Kenny Pickett. Shout out Ian Hartitz on this one. He has less multi-touchdown games, Kenny Pickett, than Tommy DeVito across his career, and how many more starts? I mean, significantly more. It's sickening. That's all you really need to know about him. In his last 4 games, he's been under 160 yards. He has 1 touchdown in 4 games. Not 1 touchdown a game, 1 total touchdown across those 4 games. It is a hideous aerial pie here in Pittsburgh. Kenny Pickett is just garbage. So I don't know that you can get overly excited about Freiermuth or really anyone in this offense when that is what you're working out of. But he's just been a reliable guy in the past. Maybe that's what this offense has been missing. Maybe that's what we need for Kenny Pickett to get at least a little bit going. He did have much better yardage days, much better being 230, his season high, with Pat Freiermuth as the focal point earlier this season. If he's gone, who are some other names you can look at? If you miss unlikely, your opponents block you, Pat Fry's already been taken. There are still a few guys I'd like to shout out. And for a 1 week stream, maybe Jonnu Smith, 29% roster, dropped because of the bye in a lot of leagues. But Kyle Pitts is not practicing as of Monday. And sure, we had a complete dud the last time we had Jonnu Smith out there. But the week before that, 21 points. Huge athlete. And he had his best days when Desmond Ridder was the starter. In fact, from weeks 3 to 6, a stretch of 16, 13, 14 fantasy points, tight end 3, 9, and 4 across those 3 games. So we've seen Jonnu Smith have some real productive stretches. And should Kyle Pitts, if this questionable nature of his knee right now ends up actually lingering, they're off the bye. You can't expect that to be the case. But hey, maybe it is. Jonnu Smith, he's another one similar to Zeke. You could probably add, given it's the bye week, ahead of tonight's game if you're catching this at the right time here before kickoff. Did want to shout out Donald Parham as well. 57 yards on 4 catches, 6 targets here. Ultimately ran 68% of the routes. It's career high, 15% target share on those routes, and put up 10 PPR points. The tight end 9 of the week was BSC and Stone Smart, whatever the hell that is. Catch 2 touchdown and almost have a second touchdown go right through his hands. But we've seen Parham be an absolute red zone beast. Should Gerald Everett's injury linger, the schedule's mediocre at best, but it's still such a good offense. Of all these offenses we're talking to, besides Isaiah Likely and the Ravens, I do think Parham is by far attached to the best overall offensive situation. They're dying for some sort of weapon to emerge here besides Keenan Allen. Maybe Josh Palmer will be back soon enough and really eat into that share, but his injury was pretty rough. So we shall see. Parham, the last one I want to shout out there, other than, and it's not Tyler Conklin. I wish it could have been. And honestly, one of the only guys I could say might benefit from actually having Zach Wilson in there. He went 6 for 66, 7 for 70 across his last 2 games ahead of this week, and then he just disappeared, did nothing. Tim Boyle, though, I mean, what the hell? He's maybe the one quarterback worse than Zach Wilson in there. So no Conklin, but I did also want to mention Michael Mayer across Aiden O'Connell's last 2 starts. He's had back-to-back 5 targets days. He went 3 for 19 and a touchdown in that first start, 11 points, tight end 9, and then 4 catches for 46 yards, 9 PPR points, tight end 13 last week's. Ceiling, sure, it's capped. I'm not going to pretend otherwise, but we're looking at athletic. You've seen all these rookie tight ends, right? With Laporta, Kincaid, all these guys breaking out. Many people consider Mayer a better prospect than any of them. Now, he's not attached to the offense that's allowing such fertile fantasy production from rookie tight ends right now. But hey, Aiden O'Connell's certainly looking his way, and he's been okay these last few weeks. So to me, you got to rank them, in my opinion, Mark Andrews, Pat Freiermuth the second, and then I would say Michael Mayer would be your third best, only 10% rostered. Whatever you got to pay to get your tight end replacement, I do think, Isaiah Likely about a 25-30% bid if you had Mark Andrews and you're really desperate at this point. Maybe you can make a move as well. But that is my summary of replacing Mark Andrews. What is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, share your thoughts in the comments, check out some more videos, and join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.